Welcome to the PowerPoint PowerTools demo. Like most add-ins, PowerTools is accessible through your PowerPoint ribbon. In this demo, I'll be walking you through the add-in's most used tools by going from left to right. I'll also be covering the contextual tools that appear when you right-click on certain objects and how you can put certain tools in your quick access toolbar to use them with shortcuts. If ever you're confused about a certain tool, you can hover over it and instructions will appear. Some of the add-in's most useful tools are the alignment ones. For example, if you try to align the last circle to the other centers, native PowerPoint will unfortunately default to the average of all shapes positions. As you can see, they all move to the left. If you want to align shapes precisely, you can select the reference circle first, then select the other shapes you want to align to that reference. Then PowerTools will allow you to align to the first selected shape if you are holding the Shift key. This feature is used so often that a lot of Power users add the Align tools to their quick access toolbar such that Alt+1 plus Shift-C will align center to the first selected shape. This may seem complicated at the beginning, but Alt shortcuts will save you so much time in the long run. Here's another must-have alignment tool. Here, I'm trying to align this icon to this hexagon, which requires me to align center, and then align middle. This happens often when working with nested icons. With PowerTools, I can align center and middle with just one click. Next, repeat and distribute helps you build slide layouts quickly. Here, I'm trying to change this slide from 3 ideas to 5. If I make my slide element span the entire section of my slide I want covered, then go to PowerTools, then repeat and distribute. I can choose how many columns and rows I want my box to be split in. I can also choose how much space I want in between each bucket. Those settings are then saved, and I can reapply them to any other object. This would take much longer if I had to guess how big to make my boxes to fit the slide perfectly. Here's another example. Let's say I want a slide with 4 evenly spaced ideas. I'll expand my shape to fit my slide, then use the Repeat and Distribute tool to split that box in the exact sizing and spacing I want. Let's do a grid for example. That's it. PowerTools also comes with a similar feature called Circular Repeat that lets you repeat shapes in a perfectly spaced circular pattern in seconds. This would be really difficult with the native alignment tools because they only work for perfectly horizontal or vertical alignment. With Circular Repeat, you can customize everything from the number of shapes to the circle radius and starting angle. If you've worked on PowerPoint even just a little, you'll know that making this type of circular pattern perfectly is a real pain without a dedicated tool. The next set of tools I'll go through are Match, Paint, and Copy. These are 3 different ways to do essentially the same thing. Copy the parameters of one object to another with just one click. For example, I can copy the size, position, and formatting from one shape to another with just one click. Let's go through an example. If I want to change that umbrella icon for another one, I'll go ahead and add an icon using PowerTools. But then my new icon doesn't have the right size or formatting. To address that, I'll use the Match to First tool. I can select the umbrella first as the reference object, then select the flag, and then click Match to First. To quickly swap their positions, I can then use the Swap Objects tool while both icons are selected. These are operations that happen surprisingly often in PowerPoint, copying formatting and swapping positions. They happen so often that I've added Match to First and Swap Objects to the second and third positions of my Quick Access toolbar, such that Alt2, Alt3 quickly matches the size and formatting and swaps positions. Here's another example of Match to First. These gray shapes don't have the same angles to match the shapes on the right. I can edit these manually, but then I'll have to try to replicate that angle perfectly if I want all of them to be consistent. As you can see, this is taking me quite some time and mouse precision. Instead, I can edit my first shape the way I want them all to be at the end, select it first as my reference object, then select all others, and then click Match to First. Something power users do every day is aligning the position of similar shapes on different slides. Here, I have slides with the same table. If I change the position of one table, that will mean that my slide elements will seem like they're dancing around or skipping when going through my presentation. Just like you see here, I want them at the same place. I can just copy-paste the whole table from one slide to the other. But what if I already had different content in both tables and want to keep them? Then I can use copy-paste position. As you can see, I added copy position and paste position to the 4th and 5th position in my quick access toolbar. I can then use Alt 4 and Alt 5 to quickly use them. Selecting many PowerPoint shapes to format them all at once is a repetitive task that can be automated very quickly with the Select Similar feature. Here, I want to select all green shapes to change them to a lighter green. Since they're intertwined with other shapes, I have to manually select them one by one while holding the Control key. Instead of manually selecting all these green shapes, you can select your reference, use PowerTools Select Similar feature, and select multiple other shapes that match a specific property of the first shape you selected. For example, here, I picked Fill Color to select all green filled shapes. This might seem relatively quick to do manually, but if you're working with PowerPoint regularly, repetitive tasks like these can really add up. In seconds, I'm able to select all red shapes on this slide with the Select Similar tool. You can do the same with other parameters like outline color and size. For example, here, I'm trying to select all these vertical lines quickly. I can do it manually, but I've got to go slowly to select them precisely without clicking on neighboring shapes. In half the time, I can use the Select Similar feature to select all lines of the same height. This is one of these simple game-changing tools that will quickly become part of your workflow. After using it a couple times, you'll quickly find yourself applying it everywhere. On to the table tools, which are must-haves because working with PowerPoint tables is a pain. Here, all my Harvey balls are misaligned with my table. I can align them manually, but that will take a while, as you can see. Instead, I can select the table, then select all my shapes, and click Align. This will align all shapes to the center of their closest table cell, all at once. I can also choose to align my shapes only to the columns or to the rows. I can even transpose my whole table or apply sweeping formatting rules to it. There are other table tools, but these are contextual. This means they only appear when you right-click on a table. For example, you can split it, sort it, transpose it, or convert it to text boxes. Other contextual tools will appear if I select a table column or row entirely. Here, by right-clicking, I can shift my select column right or left, essentially changing the order of my table to put column 1 before column 2. Doing this without a dedicated tool is a pain, and I'm sure you can relate. You have to insert a new column, copy-paste your content in it, then remove the original column. Now you're left with a wrong-sized table that you have to readjust. Another amazing table contextual tool is copy-paste cell formatting. Let's say I change my table's title row. I can add a different fill and new borders. Actually, let's change the border thickness too. Seen as this is a parameter that's a pain to recreate on other tables. That's because PowerPoint doesn't even tell you what your current border thickness is. You have to use trial and error to figure it out. Now, my tables on adjacent slides don't look the same and I want consistent formatting. To do this, I can right-click on a reference cell, copy cell format, and then paste cell format on my other table. Moving on to the wizards, here's a crazy powerful tool that you won't use very often, but when you will, you'll save tons of time. Let's say I want every single line in my deck to be green and dotted just like this one. I just have to select my reference line and go to Format Wizard. Here, I'll tell the wizard which attributes I want it to search for. Since I want all lines, I'll select Same Shape Type, and I can see those lines being selected. Now, I have to tell the wizard which attributes from my reference shape I want to be transferred to all the objects I told it to search for. Here, I want the outline color, the weight, and the style, since I want all lines to be green and dotted. Here we go, the wizard searched for all lines in my deck and made them have the same outline color, weight, and style. This can be applied in an infinite number of ways. For example, I could search for all my breadcrumbs if they have similar formatting, and then give them all a new position on the slide. The tool is essentially the same as Find and Replace, but for formatting. This is especially powerful when you have to reformat a whole deck. Thankfully, I can also undo all those changes with Ctrl-Z. The next wizard is the agenda, which helps you make a table of contents that can refresh whenever you change a slide position or name. To do this, head over to Agenda and then double-click to select the slides you want to add to your agenda. You can also use the trash can to remove any slides you don't want included anymore. With all your slides selected, which will form the sections of your table of contents, you can now select the visual layout you want your agenda to show up in. Click Insert, and then you have a completely editable agenda, or table of contents. You can also rename slides or move them around, and when you come back to click Refresh, that agenda will adapt to your changes. For example, I'm reordering slides and renaming them, and you'll see all those edits will be applied when I refresh. To edit this agenda, you can click on the tool again, then make your edits, and then click Change. Next up is the Toolbox. It has tons of formatting tools to align and size shapes precisely. For example, here, I can select all these boxes and stretch them to the rightmost edge of those shapes. If I use this tool a lot, I can go back to the toolbox, right-click it, and then add it to my Quick Access toolbar for quicker use. As you just saw, this toolbox drop-down was only the tools I've favorited. You can also change these favorite tools by using these checkboxes. There are size tools, alignment tools, ones to position objects, ones to distribute objects, and ones to align objects in a specific shape pattern. Some PowerTools users use the toolbox so much that they have it open constantly by simply clicking on it. Here, you can quickly access the entire toolbox through drop-downs that you can leave open or closed. Another great example of contextual tools is To Straighten Lines. I've got a line that's diagonal, but I want it to be straight. I can waste time messing around with my mouse, and never really know if my line is perfectly straight. Or I can right-click, go to Power Tools, and straighten my line. As we've already seen in this demo, Power Tools has many slide elements that you can insert quickly instead of building them. That includes icons with filled or bordered circles. There are slide stamps with helpful indicators like Draft, Confidential, and New that you can edit. There's also traffic light symbols that you can quickly switch between red, yellow, and green. Harvey balls of different percentages that you can edit quickly. If you want to specify an exact percentage or formatting for your Harvey balls, for example, the fill color and the outline, you can do that in the more detailed editor. You can also add a wide variety of other indicators like battery charge, arrows, or smiley faces. Finally, there's also a quick star rating tool that you can use on your options evaluation slides. Another helpful insert tool is for making headers quickly. Whenever you have a text box or multiple text boxes that you want to add titles to, you can use the header tools to add different looking titles. This tool, combined with repeat and distribute, is an amazing combo for building slide layouts super quickly. If you want to insert a source and make sure it's got the same formatting and position as all your other sources, you can select a reference, go to Insert Slide Element, Source, and then set your default custom positi on and format. Now, you can either click on Source to add one to your slide, or you can select an existing source and change its formatting to your default in one click. The same can also be done for subtitles and kickers. If you want to insert your own slide elements, or better yet, full slides, you can set up your very own custom slide library. You just have to go to Settings, Slide Library, and select your template deck. It can't be on the cloud, so make sure it's downloaded locally. Now, you won't have to leave your working deck to add slides from your template deck. Simply click on Add Slide and select the one you want. From here, you can also open your template deck, or add a new slide to it without even having it open. PowerTools also comes with a bunch of template slides and timesavers. These are meant to help you kickstart your slides with tried and true text layouts, frameworks, flows, timelines, infographics, charts, and more. There are also editable maps. For example, if I want a map of Spain, I can go to Europe and add it. Thankfully, it's made with PowerPoint elements so you can edit it with ease. Onto the text tools. The add-in has a variety of tools that help you format text quicker and more precisely. For instance, if I want to change the paragraph spacing here, I have to go to Paragraph, then guess how much space I want by selecting a spacing value, and then see if my guess was accurate. Instead, I can go to the PowerTools spacing to see my text move in real time. I can also split my text by paragraph, sentence, or bullet points if I decide I want it in separate boxes. The add-in also comes with different ways to edit text margins, including removing them with one button. Here, I decided I don't want gray boxes anymore, but now my text isn't aligned to my title because there's a margin. With one button, I can remove all margins. In native PowerPoint, I would have to right-click, go to Format Shape, Size and Properties, Text Box, and edit margins from here. Here's an even quicker way to change margins. The Toggle Margins tool allows you to set a default margin, and whenever you click on it, it toggles between no margins and your default settings. This way, you can quickly make sure that all your margins are the same, whether it's 0 or a certain setting. Another useful margin tool is the ability to remove margins from all shapes in your deck that don't have a fill color. That way, you'll never have floating text that's not aligned with the rest of your slide objects. I've just removed the fill color from these text boxes, and now I can go to Margins and remove from all slides. That's it. The add-in also has tools for sweeping changes across your presentation. For example, if I want to change my slide guides because they're not aligned with my title, as you can see here, I can delete all existing guides, then select the title as my reference shape, and then, with one click, add guides that follow the outlines of this reference shape. If I want to change a specific color to another one across all slides, I can use the Recolor tool. It scans through my entire presentation and shows me all colors, ones used for text, for shape fill, and for shape outline. For example, I can tell it to change all shapes that have that gray fill to a purple. Another example, let's try to change all black text to green. This would take me an hour if my master wasn't set up perfectly. I just have to go to Recolor, Font, and select my new color. The tool found all text that matches the color I wanted to change, and changed it immediately. Let's quickly revert back to black to get rid of this awful green. With the add-in, I can also make sweeping review actions, export selected slides as different file types, and clean up my presentation from unwanted slide elements like empty placeholders. Similarly to the Recolor tool, I can change one font to another across my deck very quickly with the Replace Font tool. Hopefully, this demo was helpful in giving you a taste of PowerTools' most useful features. The learning curve may seem steep right now, but trust me, you'll incorporate these tools into your workflow very quickly, and you won't ever want to go back to native PowerPoint again.